Well, blessed Tuesday to you as we come with your daily encouragement. And we are in our third teaching from the book or the epistle of James. And remember, we've been talking about James being divided into 12 teachings. And we had a three-part introduction, and then we had two teachings already. We had the teaching of favoritism versus love, and then we had the teaching about what faith and works and what genuine faith looks like, that it is one that responds and has followed through with actions, works, but they're not the basis of our faith. Our faith still is in the grace of God, but it is manifested in works towards other people. Today we have probably a universal one, whether one is a Christian or not. It's more one based on ethics, and it has to deal with the tongue. Not necessarily the physical tongue, but the words that come out of our mouths. And James has some really interesting analogies that I think could be found even if one was studying some other religions too, because it deals with how one speaks, how one ethically talks about themselves, or talks about information that they give from oneself. And that is an important thing with the tongue. The tongue is a very small part of our body, but a very important part of the body. But rather than explain it, let's hear the words of the apostle, the brother of Jesus, James, who is in James chapter 3, one of the first leaders of the Jerusalem church. And James writes, "Not many of you should become teachers, my brothers and sisters, for you know that we who teach will be judged with a greater strictness. For all of us make many mistakes. Anyone who makes no mistakes is speaking is perfect and able to keep the whole body in check with a bridle. If we put bits into the mouth of horses to make them obey us, we guide the whole body." And so he's making the analogy which he made earlier about bridles, that we are controlled by a bridle by God, or maybe not controlled like a horse. Or look at ships. They are so large that it takes strong winds to drive them, of course, sails, etc. And yet they are guided by a very small rudder, whenever the will of the pilot directs. So he's already made the analogy of the bridle. He's made the analogy of the rudder. So also the tongue is a small member, yet it boasts great exploits. So what is the teaching about the tongue? The small member that guides and, should I say, leads people astray, because the tongue reflects what's on the heart, James is writing. "And a great forest is set ablaze by a small fire, and the tongue is a fire. The tongue is placed among our members as a world of iniquity, in a world of iniquity. It stains the whole body, sets on fire the cycle of nature, and is itself set on fire by hell. For every species of beast and bird, of reptile and sea creature can be tamed and has been tamed by the human species, such as the bridle with the horse. But no one can tame the tongue, a restless evil full of deadly poison. With it we bless the Lord and Father, and with it we curse those who are made in the likeness of God." And so that's going to be the main part of this teaching, is that the tongue spews out, or should I say speaks out, words. The question is, where and in what spirit do these words come from? Do they reflect God, or do they come from inner desires? With it we bless the Lord and Father, and with it we curse those who are made in the image of God, our fellow human beings. From the same mouth come blessing and cursing. My brothers and sisters, this ought not to be so. Does a spring pour forth from the same opening both fresh and brackish water? Can a fig tree, my brothers and sisters, yield olives, or a grapevine figs? Nor more can salt yield fresh. Complementing one of Jesus' teaching, this is the only one we have that complements from Luke, but it is the same teaching. It is Luke chapter 6, verses 43 through 45. And Jesus says, "No good tree bears bad fruit, nor again does a bad tree bear good fruit, for each tree is known by its own fruit. Figs are not gathered from thorns, nor are grapes from the bramble bush. The good person out of the good treasure of the heart produces good, and the evil person out of the evil treasure produces evil. For it is out of the abundance of the heart that the mouth speaks." So, in other words, it is the tongue that represents what comes out of one's heart. And if one heart is divided, we're going to have mixed fruit. We're going to have brackish water, or we're going to have whatever analogy you're talking about. But James seems to say that we can tame our tongue, at least attempt to. And that, I think, is the important lesson to learn from this, is that while a tongue can start a fire, start a gossip, start a rumor, in many ways we live in a much more rumor-filled age where we don't have to wait to hear our gossip. The gossip is right there on our phone. That's why kids can't escape it at school. Used to be able that you'd have a break for at least 8 or 10 hours when the kid was not at school. Now, because of social media, it continues on after school. And it doesn't have an effect that is delayed, it is an immediate effect, where one can have a reputation that may not even be based in reality, but on a fiery tongue that gave wrong information, that is setting someone's reputation or self ablaze. And so James doesn't necessarily provide a solution as much as a warning about our tongues. Our tongues can curse and our tongues can praise God. Our tongues can tell truth and our tongues can tell falsehood. Because our tongues represent the power that comes out of our heart, and our hearts are divided. But what has he said before? If we have genuine love, if we have genuine faith, we can have our focus and our praise and our tongues reflecting the great and glorious and perfect gift from above, and not the mixed gifts that come from the world around us. And so that is basically James' lesson. Beware of the tongue. Know its power. It is not because of its size, but because of its power, and because it can set the world on fire, for good or for evil. Know the power of the tongue. God bless you today. We trust that these continue to be words of encouragement. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.